Right, welcome back to a new episode then. I've got to move a few things and then get to all the utility cabinets and wall cupboards to start fitting the kitchen. And that's what this episode is going to be about. This one will pretty much cover finding everything, going through the plan that Wren, and the title, the thumbnail will sort of tell you what it's all about. It's fitting a Wren kitchen, never done one before. Quite impressed so far. Delivery was good, the lads were really friendly, and we've got quite a nice plan as well, which I've never had before. Normally just do it off the cuff, so to speak, or just an A4 plan, but I'll spin you around now. I'll show you the massive kitchen we've got, and I'll show you this lovely plan we've got just to set ourselves up. Let's get on with it then. So here we are then. This is the mass of kitchen. I say mass. We've got an L shape there, like that. We've got a tall cupboard in there. And then we've got utility in here, tall cupboard here. A couple of units there, dishwashers go in there. Then we've got a unit, and then we've got the, we've got the washer. Then we've got the sink unit there with the sink on top. So there we are. So I've talked about the plan, this is what you get, this big installation plan. In fact, if I just turn myself around this way, all the way up, this is what you get. Now, those of you out there do kitchens all the time. I don't do them all the time, but I've never, in all the years I've been doing them, had a plan like this one. And we've got things on here, all numbered, cupboards are numbered. What goes where. All the wall cupboards are on here as a separate plan. Normally you've got your base units, and then the wall cupboards like a dotted line, aren't they? Normally, you don't know where they're going. But this even gives you wall cupboard and dimensions of how far it's be off the walls and everything. So there we are. That's okay, so that's the base unit, kitchen and utility base units. That shows you your plan of your kitchen. And then you go down to your wall cupboard, and then you come down then to your, that looks like a worktop, but I'll have a look at that in a minute anyway. So before we get any of these cupboards out, let's check the plan, identify which numbers are going in there, and then I'll set out, or show you how I set out my cabinets on the walls, get a level line for what were with the top of my units, and then when we're ready to get these out, we can unbox them, we can take them into there, put them in place and fix them to the walls. Right then, let's get on with something. Okay, just a quick one. The customers very kindly helped me in with this, with the absence of Michael and Adam today. So I've got this in here, 800 tall base cabinet there. So he's giving me a hand just to put the legs on it and lift it into place. So it's a bit more difficult to show you how I'm setting out, but very quickly, there'll be more opportunity anyway to show you how I'm setting out, but very quickly, I'll look at this plan, which is telling me that it's a 600, which I know is the dishwasher, the dryer, tumble dryer. Hence it says TD, if you can just see it. And then there's a 500 base unit, and then an 800 tall cupboard. But I know that 11 there, which again is very good, written on here, number 11 is, where's that? There it is. It's under decor accessories. And there it is, look. It's a decor end, 22mm thick, which again is really good because it means I can set out now from one point, either or, to make sure that everything fits in place properly, allowing for the thickness of a decor end, because it's easily forgotten if your plan's showing decor end panels that you don't allow. You put your 600 in, you put your 500 next to it, and you haven't allowed for your 22mm decor end. So it's always a good idea to check your plan and then remeasure your walls, because the people that design it all would have come out and measured. But you need to just double check everything. So in the true keeping of older houses, I mean, you can't really see it, but we know that's level because we put that in. Now I've measured the top at 900, and it's 15mm difference to the bottom. So I'd like to think that when these measurements, they're measured at the top, or the measured top, middle, bottom, and went the smallest measurement. So I shall check that. I shall make sure all this fits in, and then we can get set out then, and we can start putting this in, and we can put the 500 unit next to it. Again, making sure that the decor ends go in place first. Right, let's have a look at that first then. Right, so the first job I'm doing is to check the square of this wall to this one. Now, if you remember from previous footage, when we set this up, this was put in parallel to suit that wall there, so the corridor was parallel, not to the square of this existing wall. So, because I've got a 22mm end panel going on there, what I don't want to do is set this up this corner here and come off the corner, let's just say for argument's sake 25mm. But when I come to the front of the cupboard, I've only got 19 or 16mm or whatever. If this wall was coming in like this, that's what I don't want to do. So this is why you need to check your measurements and set out first. As it is, this wall is going out a little bit more. So what I can do now is I can set my line or set my laser. I can come off the back edge because I know this wall's this is plumb. I can come off the back end now, the thick or 23mm, which is a mil bigger than the end panel. And then when I get to the front, I know I'm going to have a little tiny gap, which is fine. It's about 4mm or 3mm, so that's perfect. But if it's the other way, you'd be in trouble because you could fix it to the wall, come to put your end panel in, and it wouldn't have gone in. This is why you should always check your measurements first. And like I say, I know that this goes at an angle like that. That wall, goes in at the bottom, that side, because this is level. Hence, it's bigger bottom than it is top. Another is checking measurements. So I shall set myself out now on my wall. I shall move my laser over now to my mark, which I've got there. If I move that over. Okay. So I know that now is, that there is at 25mm. So I can afford to come over a touch. Right, that's better. That's 24mm now. So I know I can mark that. I could probably turn that light off. I can mark that laser on there now. So I know I can get this and adjust the legs to suit the parallel. I could even get this now, measure off my line and get a line on the left hand side of the cupboard now to get parallel. So I know I'm not going to fail on this wall, so that's what I'll do. I'll come across there now, the width of my unit, which is 800, mark a line on the wall, and then it'll give me an option then to adjust the legs to suit, and then I can do this way as well. So that's what I'll do first. Right, a bit of a small hiccup to contend with first. This socket was in the way. Now I think on the original plan, it was a 600, well I know it was a 600 unit, not an 800. So this was put in at 700, so it was in effect 100mm away from the cupboard. Not a problem, these sockets aren't on yet anyway, they're not even connected in the board yet, so luckily we can pull this across, put the end panel on, and then we can chop a new box in there, and that's all good. So there we are. Right, when you're fitting these, you always chase yourself round because they're so tall and they move quite a lot. You just tend to have to get it as good as you can. And then what you may have seen in the time lapse, you're sort of lifting it up and sitting it on the legs because, again, because it's so tall, if you start turning the legs, what happens is the weight goes onto the other legs and they sort of bend. And then when you let go, it sort of flexes and tries to straighten back up again. So what I do there is I pick it up a little bit and drop it back down to allow the legs to sort of straighten themselves and sit in their position. So as you can see now, I've got that on my line there, right at the back. You can just about see that there. And as you can see, the wall isn't the best, but it's level. Level this way, level this way. So all I'll do now is I'll fix a bracket at the top there to stop it moving. And then my end panel will go on there. I'll put my other end panel in there, which at the back is about 22mm. Unfortunately, at the front, it is about, what is it at the back? 36 mil. Yeah, 36 mil. Yeah, 38 mil at the bottom. So there we are. So I'll fix my end panels on now. And we'll carry on and put the next unit in next to this, leaving the space for the dryer there. I was just questioning myself there about these hand panels because I hadn't seen enough of them. But when checking again, which again, this is a great plan again, that's 19 there. Now, if you look at 19, it's actually a 130 mil wide, which would make a lot more sense because why would you waste a full panel all the way into there? Which means what I will do now is I'll pull this in a little bit tidier to close this gap up. That makes a lot more sense. I'm liking that. I'm liking this more and more. Yeah, quality seems good. Yeah. So I'll move that over now to allow my panel to just about squeeze in there, my 22 mil. Close this gap up a bit better and it gives me more room here. Or it may mean there'll be a bigger gap here or a bigger gap for the dryer. But what I might do is allow my gap in between my panels, because I've marked my panels on there now, look. Panel there, panel there, panel there. And then I might just put a bit of a scribe here down the side of the panel instead to close this gap up. If I've got any of this, I'll see what I've got of this, because I don't know whether they allow anything for scribes, you see. I haven't got that far yet in my plan. So if they haven't, it may just mean that we'll put a bit of something there, a bit of timber or something maybe, and then just paint it in white if there isn't anything to scribe down the side of the big 22 mil panel. Or I could just cut the back off the panel, actually, and put it in there, because you're never going to see it, are you? Oh, yeah, I might do that. I might just do that. Right then, I'll shut up then. Let's get on with it. What I'm going to do is scribe my panel to the wall. Now what I've done first is I've looked at the door thickness and it's 19 mil. So I'll set my square just over 20 and then I'll get this and set that and make sure this is parallel to this cupboard, which will also be level as well because this is called plumb. If you want to look at this in more depth, because I'll be using my Trend U scribe as well to do so. If you want to look at this in more depth, I'll just get on with it. This is the video you're after now on the screen, and this is when I did the last job and I used all this and I'll go through exactly how to do it from start to finish. So if that's what you want to do, have a look at that. But I'll just get on with it, and if you want to know anything, just go back to that video I just showed you. So as you can see, state of the walls. There's my line at the top. Focus, 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 come on. Focus. There's my line there, right at the very edge there, look. And it comes down, and it gets wider, then it goes back in again. And as it comes down there, look, it starts to get wider as I go to the bottom, which is 12 mil, which is what my scribe was set at, because when I got this parallel with the unit in there, so it's level, the wall is 12 mil out top to bottom. So what you do is you set your, and I say refer back to that video because it does go in more depth, but you get it parallel to your cupboard, and then whatever inset you want then. So I need to take this in 12 mil to allow a 20 mil past the face of my cupboard, which then covers the door, and I'll show you more when I put the doors back on. But hang on, if I just go in here. So when the doors go on there, what I've allowed then is for my cupboard to come sort of like that, 20 mil. So it comes to the face of my door and not like that, because I don't like that. So 20 mil there. So when I measured it just, it was 32 mil past when it was level and parallel to this, sorry. So all I did was I set my U-scribe to 12 mil. So I'll take 12 mil off. So therefore, when I'm scribed to that wall, I'll still be sticking out 20 mil. That's what I've just done. So all I'll do now is I shall mark on here now from the bottom 900, and I'll explain why in a minute. I'll come from the top 720, and then what I'll do is anything that's left in that void that's going to be seen, I'll use my planer. But I'll use my saw now on the face, even though I'm using my track saw. It's pretty good anyway. I don't know what this stuff's like in terms of how brittle it is. Sometimes they're not my vinyl and they cut quite nice, but other times they chip off because they're sprayed. And I think this might be sprayed. So anyway, I shall mark that. I shall cut up so far. I shall cut down so far. So any rough cut, if you like, if you want to call it rough cut, will be covered by wall cupboards and the base unit. In the middle, I've got my little planer, which I shall show you in a minute. My little Bosch 12-volt planer, which has been a great purchase. I'll show you in a minute. And I'll take the remainder off, so it's more than likely going to be probably just this bit in the middle. I have got a jigsaw, but, you know, it's one of them, innit? This planer's quite good, so. Right, I'll crack on with that, and I'll show you the result in a minute. Sorry, my battery went on the little Bosch planer, which is this, and I forgot to turn it back on again. So, I need to put it on there then. So that's it, a little 12-volt Bosch planer. If you thought about buying one and you don't think it's going to be worth it, I can tell you now, 100%, it is. I've used it on all these doors to fine adjust. It's like having an electric block play in your hand. It is really, really good. Size-wise, that's it in comparison to holding it. It's really good. So basically all I did was I didn't catch it on film either. I got my track saw. I went to the furthest point and cut it down to the point where it's going to be hidden by the wall cupboard and base unit, rather than scribing in and out below those points. I took them off to the furthest, so there'll be gaps there, top and bottom. And then in the middle, from that little mark there that I did, and that little mark down here that I did, I'll then use my planer then because it was quite bad in the middle, where I think you can sort of see it goes in and back out again. And then use my planer just to finish it off. So we'll go and put it in place now, get it fixed, and let's get some wall cupboards up. So there we have it. I'm not going to say it's as easy as that, because that'd be patronising, wouldn't it? So as you can see, that's my 720 mark there, which is my wall cupboard. So there is a gap there, but it's going to be covered. If there wasn't any cupboards there, then I'd do it differently. I wouldn't be using my track saw to do in a straight line. I'd be scribing the whole lot. But as you can see then, obviously bearing in mind that socket there, 900. It's all touching the wall between those marks then. And let me just check. Yeah, level at the top, which is good because it's got to level the wall cupboards to run the corners and palmet across. And 20 mil on my square there. 20 mil on my square down there. That U-scribe thing, very good. Not U-scribe. I have got a U-scribe as well, so I'll show you that later on in the episode or next episode. But this easy scribe trend, very, very good. Get yourself one if you're doing this kind of thing. Makes life a lot easier. I always used to get a block of wood and use that, cut to the right width and use a block of wood, but it makes it so much easier. So give it a go. I noticed when I checked earlier that the bit of footage that I did in the utility, putting the wall cupboards on and the base unit, didn't record because my battery had gone. I didn't realise how low it was, but I think the time lapses it zaps the phone. So I'll spin you around now and show you where I am and what my next task is, should we say. So let's have a look then. So the base unit's all fitted, wall cupboards are all fitted. And a couple of little things I want to show you again with this Wren kitchen. Apart from the fact that they supply all the screws and brackets you need, which is always good. I mean, I'm so used to supplying my own, which isn't a massive deal, but you just get used to what you're used to, don't you? I've just seen this in the pack as well. And what this is, from what I can gather, is you put that in the back there. And I've never seen this before, so shout out if you've seen it before. This is new to me, so I generally pack mine and put a bracket, one of these brackets in there like that. I'll mark it, pre-drill it, and then screw into it. Or there's normally a hole in the back on some kitchens that you drill through. But this, apparently, according to this, I think that back cup slides up as well. Well, that might help. So that goes in there like that. You drill through it. Let me get my fingers out of the way. You drill through that, and then you adjust this, if I could do it one-handed, like that. So you do it as far as you need to, depending on what your wall's like, obviously, and how much you've had to scribe it in. And you adjust that tight, and then you clamp it to the back of your cupboard and to your wall, and then you put your screw through it. That's good, isn't it? Like an adjustable packer. Now, I don't know about you, but I like that. That's a good idea, that is. So yeah, there's a few things that I like. Like when you screw the cupboards together, instead of putting the little coloured screw covers on, these are designed to, you put your screw in the back of the unit, so it goes in that hole there. That's what it's for, to join your cupboards together. So again, that's good. And in a minute, when I come to this wall cupboard on there, I'll show you a bit of the wall brackets on here, where if you've experienced, it fails you because you presume too much. So I'll show you that in a minute. So what I've done now is I've checked this side of the wall now, and you're going to have to forgive me with footage in this one because I can't put the camera anywhere to get footage of what I'm doing because I'm in my own way. But what I can tell you is, when I start in here, and this will be a separate episode, there's a lot of room for me to film in here because you can see a lot going, all that to go in yet, all here. So bear with me, bear with the channel. I'll show you how to fit exactly to put in the first screw in and the last screw in there, but I'm just going to browse through this one just so you can see where we are in the channel because I like to keep you up to date. So despite my excitement with this whole thing there, which is brilliant, I opened this up and there's nothing in there, not in any screws. So I've had to go back to the old way I used to do it and put the brackets on the back. All I did first was I put my level on these walls, and if you just look at this one, I wrote lump there. You see I wrote lump there, because if you look at this one, this wall, and this is existing, there's a big lump in the wall there, and then this one here, as you can see by the cupboard, runs out quite dramatically there. However, I can't leave a filler there and scribe it in because this is tight. In fact, I don't know if I'm going to get it all in the way they've measured it. It may be that I can't get the two, because there's number 11 there, number 11 there, are two 22mm fillers, and I think it's going to be ridiculously tight. In honesty, what they should have done is allowed a 600 instead of a 700, so I could get that in a void, but they didn't. So I've now got to cut that out the side of a cupboard, which is a bit of a wounder because I don't like that. But there you go. What they've also done is they've allowed 600 there. You can't see that on the camera, but they've allowed 600 gap there. Now, those of you who've done it before, 600 isn't enough for a standalone washing machine because you won't get it in, it's too tight. You need at least 610 minimum. So I'll have to try and wiggle that down, see how far I can get into that. So I'll keep going and we'll crack on and get this fitted. But what I then did, you can see the laser, because I've got this one fitted. I've got it set to the bottom there, so these are level. Obviously this is a set height with your plinth in. I allow 160 for my plinth and then work down if the floor's at a level, because plinth's 150, and with any flooring that goes in here, it means you haven't got to take them off and cut the bottom off, because it's always nice to keep the manufactured edge on all your panels. And like when I did this one, you may not have seen, but I put the cutter at the top, because at the bottom you keep the manufactured edge so you can't draw any moisture up, because obviously this protects the panel from any moisture, potential moisture, you know, water on the floor or whatever. So all I did then was, because this is all fixed, put my laser on there, 110mm it was from here up to the laser. So I then put a mark 110mm on here, measured that, and then levelled this in as I would do normally. Levelled it this way, levelled it this way, and that's all set now. And now I can work off this to there, because that at the bottom is as tight as it can go. So that is now my reference. Now I didn't want to do my wall cupboards first, and I was talking to Mick about this one. I've never really done my wall cupboards first, because if you get this scenario, if you've sort of measured off the wall, let's say your panel thickness, and then when you transfer it then and put the wall cupboard, the base unit on, and that happens, you're then going to move this over, and then that means that your wall cupboard and your base unit aren't in line. That's why I've always liked to do bases first. I know it's a bit arse about face, because it's easy to get into here and hang these, isn't it? Yes, of course it is. However, I can do now is, I can put this level on here like that. I can level up to there. I can mark my line there now and work back from my line, so it's exactly in line with this one all the way up, so it's nice and tidy. Because the last thing you need on kitchens is when you walk into a kitchen, and I know this utility, but you walk in and you can see that the cupboard and it's over all that way, looks rubbish. So, right, I'll crack on and get this in. There's another base unit to go there. And then because there's a washer space, I can actually stand and get into here anyway. And the other bonus is, if you've been following us for a while on the channel, this is actually chipboarded, studded wall. So I haven't even got to drill any holes. I've just got to screw straight into it, which is ace. We put loads of screws in, if you remember from footage, you would have seen, just to make sure it was all solid. And Mick went round as well. Any bits that we thought weren't quite fixed right, we put some good 90mm 10s into here as well, just to make sure that the stud was structurally sound. So that's all great. So I'll crack on and do that then, and see where we go first. So yet again, another apology for where we are with this utility build. Now, I've actually just put it on the channel anyway, just to show you that we've done it, to show you progress of the job. My intention was to show you little bits, scribes and setting out. But however, what I have said to you is, when we do this kitchen behind me with all this lot, I'll go through it a lot more in depth. But let me just spin you around and talk you through why we are where we are and what's going to happen today. Because I'm just going to get the worktop done, get the sink on, and then we're going to get prepped to get this lot in the spaces. So we'll sort of move that there, move a few bits. We can move the sink and what have you, because it'll be live in that one, in the utility. So spin you around, show you where we are. So as you can see, I've gone ahead. I can't remember what my last footage was, so I'm going to have to edit this bit a bit anyway. The wall cupboards are on. You saw me using my laser on here and setting out for all of this, but I've put that in. Now, this is the first bit of an issue. That there, this should have been a 600 in my mind, to allow a scribe there. This is what we've got in our mind. If you remember from previous footage, we're going to run this around the back into the service void. And also, like I say, if this had been 600, it would have been outside of here. So as a consequence, because there's just enough room to get a washer in there, I've had to cut that around there. Not a fan. I know it's in a cupboard, I know it's in a sink. Doesn't look the best, does it? Moving on to the issue that slowed us down quite a lot yesterday. And for that, I'll have to go back into the kitchen. Okay, so first of all, hello Michael. He's come to join me for the bank holiday half-day fest in the sunshine, just to try and claw us back a little bit. So our first issue is, I'm going to point these parts out first. Heights. That corner there, that ducting, that boxing, and in that hole there, you can just about see the concrete lintel that was above the window. So let's backtrack. That concrete lintel was never going to come out. On the screen now, you can see the timber work that was done prior to the any measuring or any dabbing of the walls. That is obviously from day dot, structured from day dot, and it would have been in when the guy come to measure. And that ducting is based on a measurement that I've been doing for many, many years, which is the worktop height, then 500 up from the worktop, and then a 720 wall cupboard, which gives me, depending on what I lay on my plinth, around about the 2120 mark. So that is about 2130. Now, something for you guys to pay attention to if you are ordering a kitchen from Wren and they and you're designing it well in advance of your build. What you need to be aware of and ask the questions, especially if you're structuring stuff like this boxing and things beforehand, is that they do two types. They do a 2245 finish millimeters, and they do a 2070 finish millimeters. Now that 2070 is only difference by 50 mil. Then I allow 2120 because I allow 500 between my worktop and wall cupboard height rather than 450. That's the only difference. So obviously we've structured all this. At no point has the customer been told that they're going to go for the taller ones. And when they come to measure, the unfortunate part was, if they'd have measured that corner there, oh, get me thought, that corner, that is 2160. So normal height would have gone in perfect. That boxing that was in, all bar and plasterboarded, is way above, is 2175, I think. 2145, so it would have gone in. And the lintel is 2175, so it would have gone in. So things to be aware of. So all I've done there, very quickly, put my level on that back wall, just to make sure it's flat, which it is, and it's not sort of rocking. If it was rocking, I would have put my level on, paralleled it off the front, like this. I'm trying to show you what I'm doing. So that, like I said, let's go back a little bit. That's flat on the wall. If it had been rocky, if there'd have been a lump sort of here or something, so I couldn't use my square to get a corner, I would have got this like that. I would have measured it from here, measured it as parallel, and then put my square on like that to then check where I'm not square. See, if you look, it's touching there, look, and I've measured it's 15 mil at the back, outer square. So I know when I'm measuring that from here is my front measurement, which is pretty much square, because when I put my level on my square on this side, if I just move this, you would have seen it on the footage just, but I took a little chunk out the back there because there's a little bit of a lump in that corner. When they put the plaster in, they've curled it at the corner. But if you look, you can't see it, but there's about a 1.5 mil there, not touching the wall now. So I know that confidently I can measure this measurement at the front. I know that that corner I can leave square off the worktop I've already got. But I do know that because this touches here, where the worktop's going to touch, because the worktops are about 600, 616, 620, 610, depending where you get them from. I can then measure from the front and measure back and come in 15 mil, so that'll fit. Because what you don't want to do is measure this one at the front, measure the back one and cut it square to length, because it won't work, because you don't know which corner is out of square. Does that make sense? I know this is square, so I could actually measure that measurement now if I wanted to across the back. And I know, because I can measure off a square corner, I'll get that right, and it would be 15 mil small in the front. But let's have a look, shall we? This measurement's 1675, so the back measurement should be 1660, shouldn't it? So it'll work that way, whether I'll measure and come in 15 mil or measure from here. Now, the caveat to that is, if that was out of square and that was out of square, you would have to do it the way I've just done it, which is measure your front, work out which way the wall's going with your square off the back wall, and then put separate measurements on each end based on which way it is, in or out. Does that make sense? Oh, trying to make sense. It's difficult to explain when you've been doing it for a long time. Difficult. But hopefully that that sort of clears it up for you. Yeah, of course it has. Lovely, let's get on with it. So what I've done now, got my worktop cut. And you see it's quite tight, there's a little bit of a gap at the back, but if it's too tight and you try and force it in, you can actually snap the laminate off the top of the thing. So you do it tight enough that you can get a mastic bead or tiles, which it is. That's all tight around there. And this is a 650 worktop to allow, so it covers the top of the washing machine, which is always nicer than seeing the top edge of the washing machine. Like I say, you can get different types, but a worktop, but 650 is better for this scenario. If it was integrated, you could go with a smaller one, because integrated ones sit flush with this. Oh, let me come back a little bit. I see. They all sit flush, so it's fine. But a bigger worktop's required when you're using standard push-in worktop. So what I've done now is I've worked out where I want my sink. You would have seen on there, I've put a blue line all the way around. There is protective film on top of that at the minute, so that's good. And then the instructions then say, sorry, just go back a little bit. So I put it on the top. I got my bowl sort of right in my cupboard, looking down where I want it in my cupboard. Drew around it, so protective film. And then the instructions then say, come in 7mm or a total of 15mm in either side to allow your worktop, your sink to drop in, and then get your clips on. So that's what I'm doing now. So I shall mark that 7mm way around, do another line, make sure I identify the line I'm going to cut, because that's always important. And then I'll cut that out and we'll get the sink fitted. Quick update, you saw me put the, I actually use sticks all around the edge, I haven't got any clear silicone, so I put some around the edge to seal all the cut edge, put my clips on, set this into place, and I've cut the excess, I'm going to call it putty. So now I've got all this gubbins to put in here, and for all the plumbers out there, yes, it would be easier to put this in and put all the sink in first, but put all this on, sorry, put this in, then drop it into place, but I can't be bothered with that. I've got plenty at 700 cupboard there. I can get straight into the back, drop this in, do all this from underneath. I've got loads of great access. So let's just crack on with that then. So good morning. Hope you've had a good bank holiday weekend. I've come in on Monday just to try and get a bit of a shift on with this after the bit of issue we had with this. I still can't work out, and hopefully by this video goes out, I'd have done it, how that goes in there. Anyway, because that thread in there won't come out. And that doesn't seem to come out. I don't want to force anything, so I'm going to have to speak to Wren Kitchens tomorrow when it's not bank holiday. So all I've done this morning is I've got the dryer into position, I've got the washer into position, I've cut through and put the pipe work in, I've put the flexi hose on now, I've connected all of this now, this is all up and running. I've just got to put that into there when I can turn the water off. At the minute it's not practical to do it at the minute because people are washing and what have you, getting ready for the day. So I'll do that later on. Mick started to put the handles on, so these are starting to go on now. Using his little jig there, but I'll let him talk about that when he starts them again tomorrow. I'll let him talk about his jig and whether he likes it or not, and then if he does, we'll do a bit of a review for you, see if it's any good and worth the purchase. Because I know it wasn't cheap. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the doors on here now to get them out of the way, because they're currently sat, in there. So I might put those on so they're out the way. And then what I'm going to do, now I've moved stuff, is I'm going to move into here and start shifting all this and try and get some of this in here. However, that is going to be a new episode. So we'll leave this episode here. I don't know whether this has been 1 or 2 episodes fitting and messing with this utility because of the few problems that we've had that we've got to sort out, hopefully after the bank holiday weekend, with regards these tall cupboards not going into that space, that space, or going underneath that shelf there, on that bit there, boxing, because I've said, if you remember, that these ones are the taller version of a tall cupboard, 2245 finish as opposed to 2070 finish, and we've based that ducting, we based that boxing, we based that opening, and even that slope ceiling, where the slope ceiling meets the wall there, even that would be okay for a tall cupboard. So we'll go through that. Well, thank you for watching this episode. If you've got any comments, don't forget to put them in the comments box below. I'll answer as much as I can for you. But thank you for watching this episode, and see you on the next one.